What is going on there? My name is Jared with Best Seat of the Track at frontstretch.com. Today is race day at Daytona 2, and joining me today is our Tuesday news writer, Dalton Hopkins from Daytona Beach, Florida. Dalton, how's everything at the track? I mean, it got wet last night for the Xfinity race. They're getting ready to race there too, so how's everything looking over there?
It's hot, it's humid, but that's Florida. And I'll tell you what, right now, I'm looking outside. It's looking a lot better than it did yesterday, thank goodness. I checked the forecast about 10 minutes ago. It was clear, but I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to jinx it too hard, so I'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it there for now. But it's looking good right now.
Well, I think it's pretty much playing the Florida lottery for the weather right now to see if it's going to rain or not, too. Dalton, I want to ask about, the big storyline this week is Tyler Reddick. How should you approach this weekend if you're Tyler Reddick, especially with this pack racing for unpredictability here? How should he approach this race weekend to make sure that he's in the playoffs and doesn't get wrecked?
So I actually spoke to some of the Xfinity drivers yesterday, and one of the biggest things that I talked to them about how to stay out of trouble, things like that, and they just kept saying, you can't. You just can't. You can stay up in front as much as you want to, as much as you try, but trouble might just find you regardless. So I think in Reddick's case, it's really going to come down to staying out of trouble. And I think in his case, he should probably try to stay up at the front. We saw him last year make that big move at the very end, try to make that one last kamikaze move and try to take the lead in this race to try to make the playoffs. Didn't work out that time, but I think the RCR cars are going to be a lot more well-prepared this week. The unfortunate thing for him, though, is that the other RCR car is the one that he's competing with. But I think for Tyler Reddick, I think his biggest thing is working with those Chevrolets, staying up at the front, try to stay out of trouble as much as possible, and get those stage points. Because that's going to be the big thing for him. You can't stay in the back. You got to get those stage points.
I think actually he should race more reactively than proactively, especially in the first few stages on that. Considering that, the trouble could strike any point at stage 1 and stage 2, and you got to be there in the end to cash out on points. But you did bring a good point about Chevys working together, too. We saw in the Daytona 500s, we saw the Toyotas were working well together, and then their pit strategy messed up where the Fords were up front, and a Ford went to victory lane. Do you see more of the same here for the August race at Daytona, or do you expect total chaos?
Well, I mean, what's the famous line that Mike Tyson said? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And when it comes to this place, sure, they can talk all they want about, we're going to work with the Chevrolet guys, the Fords are going to work with the Fords, Toyotas are going to work with the Toyotas, and they can say that all they want. When it comes down to the last 5 laps, the last 10 laps, or however, it's going to be every man for himself. Now, if we see a situation in the 500, we could see a top line deal, a train deal, and it's just ride it out until the very end, and pit stops might take key, but I think the Chevrolets are going to be working really well together for today. But again, the Fords are going to be working well together. The Toyotas are going to do what they can. But I think the alliances are going to only hold out for so long. And once we get to that final stage, all bets are going to be off.
I think the reason why the Chevrolets weren't a factor in Daytona is because most of them were taken out in at that early crash that happened right before that red flag there. Dalton, we're going to play one of my favorite segments, Bump or Stump. Mark Crystal broke the streak of getting the trivia question right, too, with Chris Buescher with the Rolo Brothers question. I have a Daytona question of dominance, dominance. This is a wild card. Good. So my question is, who was the last driver to win at Daytona and lead more than 100 laps? And I'll give you this hint. There have been 5 winners who have led 1 lap since this has happened.
Okay. Last driver to win at Daytona. So, let's see here. Over 100 laps. I'm going to go with Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's my guess. I think my guess is going to go back to 2015.
Dalton, you got stumped. It was Brad Keselowski in 2016. He led over 110 laps in the July race. Ever since, it has been a crapshoot. I mean, I think the winner, Denny Hamlin's the second with 92, and since then, I think the most leaders led is 24 laps. So I don't think, like I said, we're going to see a dominant car up front win this race. But I want to hear, who are you predicting to win?
Yeah, and that's an even more difficult question than the stump or chump, or the bump or dump. It's I gotta tell you, there could be so many. We were talking about how it's been a lot of the Hendrick cars have been strong all year, so you could feel safe with Kyle Larson a lot of times. But this weekend, it could be anybody, right? I mean, it could be anybody in this wild card spot. For today, though, I chose Matt DiBenedetto, and here's why. Matt DiBenedetto is going to be in that Penske Racing car, and right now, all three of those Penske cars are in the playoffs. I think DiBenedetto is going to be that fourth factor that Penske is going to be kind of looking toward. We're going to see those Fords working together as well. I think DiBenedetto is going to be a part of that, going to be leading that Ford train today. We've seen him up front at Daytona in the past, but at the same time, it's a wild card race, baby. You just have no idea, but I'm feeling strong that Matt DiBenedetto could win it today.
Matty D. Well, I don't have a particular person that I'm going to pick here. I know like I said, I've picked Larson a couple times to win on this show too, but I'm going to go with this helmet here to help me decide who is going to win this race.
Oh.
So let me pick out, because
it's a better choice.
It's a crapshoot. All right. You are not going to believe who I drew. I'll let you. David Starr.
David Starr.
If
David Starr wins this race, oh my goodness. Holy cow.
See, that was just random draw here.
I'll do cartwheels down pit road if David Starr wins this race. Oh,
I think David Starr will do cartwheels down pit road.
Do cartwheels.
Exactly. I mean, I do agree with Matty D. I think the Fords are going to be strong, but like I said, I'll go with David Starr with my random pick out of the hat there. So, Dalton, excellent. I do appreciate you joining here at Best of the Track here. And for everyone here on FrenchStretch.com and the YouTube channel, go to FrenchStretch.com, subscribe to our channel, and have a great race weekend.